You ever find yourself stuck in a situation so ridiculous you have to laugh just to keep from screaming? That's pretty much where I was the day our HOA president, Karen Tillman, marched into the Cedar Key post office and tried to seize everyone's mail, claiming she needed to approve it first. Yeah, that happened. And let me tell you, nobody saw the next few hours coming, least of all Karen. It started with the kind of sound you don't forget, a steel security shutter slamming shut, sealing a dozen of us inside the post office like a bank vault locking down after a heist. The fluorescent lights flickered over old paper and government wax, and right in the middle stood Karen, hands on her hips, next to a dolly piled high with mail bins. She looked less like a concerned neighbor and more like someone about to pillage the place. Postmaster Henderson, who I swear was built out of equal parts patience and steel, kept one hand near the button and the other on the phone, calmly telling Karen, for the third time, to step away from the federal property before things got worse. My wife, Jane, an EMT with nerves of titanium, stood next to me recording the whole thing, just like we'd planned, because you never know with Karen. Me? I'm Hank. I sell security hardware for a living and keep receipts for everything. I like order. Karen's the opposite. She's chaos. In a lavender blazer, and our neighborhood, Foxglove Landing, has been at her mercy for months. But this was new. She'd gone from slapping stickers on packages and intercepting flyers to outright hijacking the mail. Today, she rolled into the post office, told the carrier she'd be pre-sorting all our mail from now on. Maria, our carrier, refused. So Karen chased her all the way back, wheeled her dolly in, and tried to claim the bins were HOA property. Henderson was already on the phone with the Postal Inspection Service, and Karen, flustered but defiant, swore she'd have his job. It might have been funny if it wasn't so serious. See, Karen always assumed she could bully her way out of trouble, just like she did at HOA meetings. But this wasn't a meeting about trash cans, this was federal turf. The gears of a bigger machine were grinding into place, and she was trapped right in the middle of it, in a beige room full of witnesses. The tension only cranked higher. When Mrs. Gable, a sweet older woman, spoke up from the corner, asking about her husband's insulin, which was supposed to arrive in a medical cooler. Karen, true to form, waved her off. If it mattered, you'd plan better. That was it for me. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was about life or death. Jane was already in EMT mode, calm and steady, calling for EMS. I spotted the white cooler stuff between catalogs and Amazon boxes on Karen's dolly. Mrs. Gable broke down in tears. Her husband needed that shot in an hour. Henderson demanded the cooler, but Karen blocked him, still clinging to her fantasy of authority even as the crowd turned against her. Then, as if things weren't tense enough, Karen tried to create a diversion, shoving her dolly into a young postal clerk named Leo, knocking him into the wall. Assaulting a federal employee, now she'd really done it. Henderson pulled out his phone, recording her. The sirens started getting closer, and I could feel the fight drain out of her. When the postal inspectors finally arrived, badges, navy jackets, no nonsense, they swept in like they'd done this 100 times. Henderson pointed to Karen, laid out the facts, and Jane calmly confirmed the clerk was okay. Then, in a single sentence, Inspector Davies put an end to it. Ma'am, you're under arrest for mail interference and assault. For the first time, Karen looked small, just a woman in a lavender suit who'd made every bad decision possible. But that wasn't the end. As they cataloged evidence, they uncovered a forged mail hold form authorizing the HOA board to stop all deliveries to half the neighborhood. The signature was fake, and suddenly, what looked like petty power games turned into conspiracy. Why intercept everyone's mail? What was she really after? In the days that followed, Jane and I dug deeper. We met with Inspector Rohr, who told us the mail hold form was signed by Arthur Pendleton, treasurer, a fake name, tied to a secret P.O. box Karen and a mystery man named Marcus Thorne had rented months ago. Marcus Thorne, as it turned out, was a developer desperate to buy our green belt, land the HOA had protected for years. Suddenly, it made sense. Karen wasn't just a control freak. She was running a full-blown scheme, intercepting legal notices, zoning ballots, anything that might stop the land sale. It wasn't about property values. It was about millions. With the help of our neighbor buddy Joel, a retired county records clerk with a taste for gossip and good beer, we figured out how Thorne funneled money to Karen through a shell company called Green Meadow Consulting. The final break came from Arthur Williams, the HOA secretary, who, terrified but honest, handed us a digital recorder with Karen's voice negotiating a $200,000 bribe. That recording, plus the secret ledger Arthur gave us, was the nail in the coffin. Jane, always the organized one, cut together a video using security footage, body cam clips, and the audio file, syncing everything into a devastating presentation. At the annual HOA meeting, we let Karen try to push her green belt opportunity one last time. Then we played Jane's video. The whole room went dead quiet as they watched Karen caught on camera, heard her voice taking bribes, saw the money trail. When the lights came back up, Karen's power was gone. The Martins resigned, Arthur became interim president, and the HOA was reborn with term limits, audits, and transparency. Rules. Karen's downfall didn't end in that clubhouse, though. In federal court, the judge sentenced her to pay restitution, banned her from coming within 20 feet of any mailbox for 5 years, and assigned her community service at the very post office she tried to commandeer. The queen of Foxglove Landing was now scrubbing floors in a bright orange vest. The neighborhood healed, slowly but surely. The mail was safe, neighbors started talking again, and our biggest reminder, a thick orange line circling the mail kiosk, stood as a warning. Some boundaries can't be crossed. We didn't want to be heroes, but we did what had to be done. You know what I mean? So let me ask, how far would you go to protect your community? Would you draw the line, even if nobody else would? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me, was justice really served, or does a place like Foxglove Landing never really change? Now, you'd think after Karen's grand exit and the federal court showdown, things around Foxglove Landing would settle down for good, right? I mean, how many neighborhoods do you know where the HOA president gets hauled off in cuffs and has to clean the post office as part of her sentence? But funny thing, peace doesn't always return the way you expect. The scars from a long siege don't heal overnight. At first, there was this awkward relief, like waking up after a storm and realizing your house is still standing, but every window's rattled, and the porch is covered in debris. The first couple weeks, people sort of tiptoed around the old mail kiosk, half expecting Karen to jump out from behind the azaleas with a clipboard. Instead, they'd spot her across town in that neon vest, emptying trash cans outside the post office. Kids whispered stories about the lavender ghost. I'd catch Jane shaking her head and smiling whenever we'd pick up the mail, that faded orange circle still marking the edge of Karen's exile. But what nobody really talks about is the quiet work it takes to put a place back together after a blow like that. Arthur Williams, timid, cardigan-wearing Arthur, turned out to be exactly the president we needed. No ego, no hidden agenda, just this stubborn determination to make things right. He called emergency meetings in the clubhouse, every seat filled, neighbors finally airing grievances that had been bottled up. For years, Buddy Joel took it upon himself to plant sunflowers around the community garden, like he could force the neighborhood to smile again. Maybe he was right. Jane, of course, went into full project manager mode. She organized block parties, set up a shared neighborhood calendar, even convinced folks to start a lending library out of the old tool shed. Little by little, laughter crept back in. Kids playing tag on lawns, couples waving over hedges, the old-timers debating city politics from their porch swings. You know what really stuck with me? It wasn't just that. We'd kicked out the bully. It was the realization that we'd all gotten complacent, letting someone like Karen run roughshod because it was easier than standing up. It took a federal case, a weeping neighbor, and a box of insulin for us to finally say, enough. I guess that's how communities get tested, by the folks who push boundaries, but also by whether anyone's got the backbone to push back. But just when you think the story's tied up neat, there's always another twist. About 2 months after the sentencing, Jane found an envelope slipped under our door. No stamp, no return address, just my name, written in tight block letters. Inside was a single sheet, a scan of a check made out to Green Meadow Consulting for $50,000, with a sticky note attached. You missed a spot. No signature. Just that. Let me tell you, my heart started racing. Either someone wanted to help finish the job, or they were warning me not to dig any deeper. Jane's first thought was, we go to the feds. Mine was, we check the HOA accounts again. Arthur brought in the forensic accountant, and together they traced the last of the developer's money turns. Out Karen wasn't the only one skimming. One of the ex-board members, Mr. Martin himself, had quietly funneled landscaping contracts to his brother-in-law's company for years. The whole neighborhood watched as the dominoes fell, one after another. This time, though, nobody looked away. People demanded answers at every meeting, asked for receipts, insisted on transparency. The new board, with Arthur at the helm, published every budget online and let anyone audit the numbers. We even started hosting Ask Me Anything nights. Imagine a bunch of suburban dads grilling the treasurer about mulch prices like it was Congress. And yet, some changes were quieter, almost invisible unless you knew what to look for. Mrs. Gable, whose husband nearly lost his medicine that day, started a little support network for folks with medical needs. Just neighbors checking on each other, making sure packages got delivered, rides were arranged, nobody fell through the cracks again. Buddy Joel, who never trusted any authority, began leaving welcome baskets on new neighbors' porches. Even Leo, the young clerk Karen shoved, got invited to every barbecue after that, like the town had adopted him as a good luck charm. There were setbacks, sure. The first time someone painted graffiti on the orange circle by the mail kiosk, tempers flared. The Martins tried, unsuccessfully, to stage a comeback, floating rumors that the new board was just as bad. But this time, people pushed back hard. There was this shared memory now, a living reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. And for me and Jane, life didn't go back to normal. It went somewhere new. We'd become accidental leaders, whether we wanted to or not. Neighbors came to us with problems, sometimes big, sometimes small, like they trusted us to keep the place honest. It was humbling, sometimes overwhelming, but mostly it just felt right. Like all that chaos had pulled us closer together. So maybe that's the real ending, or maybe it's just another beginning. Because communities aren't static, they're living things, growing and healing and learning, one argument, one celebration, one heartbreak at a time. I still check our mailbox with a little smile, and sometimes I'll stand there, just outside that orange line, and watch the sun set over Foxglove Landing. The shadows stretch long, but the fear is gone. That, to me, is the real victory. But hey, let's open it up. What do you think? Does real change last? Or is it always just a few stubborn folks away from slipping back? Have you ever seen a place rebuild itself? Or does the past always find a way to sneak back in? Drop your stories and thoughts below. I'd love to hear what community means to you, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to draw our own line, and maybe, just maybe, keep it bright enough for the next person to see.